Car seat PSA. I'm going to talk about a couple of tips that are hopefully going to help you guys out when shopping for your car seat if you are pregnant right now. If you click on this comment, I made a video yesterday or the day before talking about hospital bag essentials, things that you want to have packed in preparation for labor. And one of those things you obviously want to have ready to go is a car seat. However, there are some caveats to this, so that is why I want to quickly make this video. My first tip is do not drive around with your car seat in your car for months before your baby is here. I personally would buy that car seat as soon as you're ready to in your pregnancy, get really familiar with how to use it, put the base in, put the car seat in, practice a couple of times, and then I would take that out and leave it in your home until it's time to go to the hospital. And the reason for this is because if you get into a fender bender or a car accident, God forbid, when you are pregnant, chances are high that you will have to throw that car seat away. Now, ordering a new one is not the end of the world, especially if you were earlier on in your pregnancy, you have that time. If this happens later in your pregnancy, it's not necessarily the financial burden because sometimes insurance will cover that. It's you're restarting the clock for having to place an order and wait for a new one to be delivered. Live far away from the hospital and you don't want to risk not having it in the back of your car in case you go into labor early. I totally understand. This is where you just have to make a judgment call, do what's best for your family. Everybody's situation is a little bit different, so I'm not going to make a blanket statement not to put it in your car, but I will speak from personal experience. My commute was 20 minutes, and if that were to happen, that would not have been the end of the world. I would have just sent my husband to get it or a family member to get it, whatever, and then they could bring it to the hospital. The second comment I get is, what happens if you get into a fender bender on the way to the hospital? That doesn't make sense. This is really for the people who are buying the car seat early on in pregnancy and driving around for months and months and months with it in the back of the car, not necessarily for anyone who wants to do it at the very end of the pregnancy, okay? Here's a quick timeline example in case it's helpful. Take it out with a grain of salt. I bought the car seat and the base in the second trimester, and then I got really familiar with it in that time frame as well because I had more energy then, and I just felt like I could handle projects. Then I put the car seat base in my car around 37 weeks because at that point in my head, I was thinking something could kick off at any time. It's easier to replace the car seat base than the entire car seat if I were to get into a fender bender, God forbid. And then the car seat stayed in my house until I went into labor. And then we threw it in the car and we headed to the hospital. Tip 2, again, already mentioned this, but just get really familiar with how to use it. The hospital is not going to help you with this. They are going to wheel you out to your car. They're going to put eyeballs on it to make sure that it was installed correctly before you can go home, but they will not help you. They can't tell you what to do. It's a liability. So I would watch YouTube videos. I would go to the website of whoever makes that car seat. They will have tutorials on the website for you to watch. And again, I would practice at home a bunch of times so that if and when things kick off, you're not learning how to use it in the moment. You know what you're doing. And then the third tip is I would not buy a car seat secondhand. And that goes across the board for the same reason as number one. If that car seat was in a car that got into a fender bender, it should not be used. And it's really hard to fact check that when you're buying it secondhand. Like some people are not going to be upfront about that because they just want to make some money. I see car seats for sale all the time on Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, and I would never do it. There's actually a handful of things I would never buy secondhand. The majority I would because baby items add up and I feel like it's very wasteful to keep buying new stuff. But anyway, that's a story for another day. I can make a video on that if that's helpful. But for now, car seats, those are the tips. I would not drive around with it for months and months in the back of your car. I would leave it in your home, buy your hospital bag, ready to go. I would get really familiar with how to use it, and then I would not buy it secondhand. Okay, I hope that's helpful.